Hey guys, so today I want to talk about how I plan road trips and what I pack on the road trips. So kind of the full circle of everything that I do for these. So the main things that I'm going to talk about with planning the road trip is where I want to go, where I want to sleep, and budget. So first, planning where I want to go. I think that's the most exciting part because there's so many options and whatnot. But so when you're planning where you want to go, some of the things you have to think about, is what kind of areas do you want to go to? Do you want to go to a city? Do you want to go to nature? Do you want to go to a different country? Beach? Where the heck do you want to go? And after you plan that, you have to plan on, do you want to go to just that one place, or do you want to make it a road trip and go into multiple places, because that completely changes the dynamic of the trip. Once you have chosen that, somewhere in that process you need to decide how many days do you have. How many days do you have off of work, school, obligations. It can factor into how many places you're able to go to. So once you have all of that figured out, I suggest doing a lot of research. If you've never been to these areas before, researching, just what the culture's like, what they have there, what the activities are, just all of the areas out there and the opportunities. I suggest doing research on them so that you know where all you can go and what all you can do, so you can choose from all of those options that you found. That's how I've done my trips. Before I had ever gone on a trip, that's actually what I did. I did hours and hours and days of research on what all was out west, because I had never been in there. I live in the Midwest. That's the only place that I've ever been, really. And so I was so fascinated by it that I spent hours seeing what all was out there, and it was so exciting to me. And so that's how I've chosen all these times where I've wanted to go. And so once you kind of figure out like where you want to go and whatnot, and you get deeper into planning your trip, the second thing that I do is deciding where I want to sleep. And not everybody does this, but for me, it's very important to me, because I don't like feeling like I don't have somewhere safe to rest at night. And so when I plan my trips, I always try to plan where I'm sleeping. And it's easy if I'm, say, staying in a national park for 5 days. Well, I'm going to have that one campsite for all those 5 days. But when you're going on a trip and you're traveling constantly, you don't always know where you're going to sleep. And so I say if I have point A, point B, I see everything that's in between, and I pick out where I might be able to sleep on the way. And those places that I might be sleeping could be at a campsite, which could be, a national park, a national forest, a state park, random campground, anywhere. It could be, in my car. I've done that before. I've slept at rest areas off the interstate in my car. One time I even slept at a Walmart, off the highway. It was fine. But, or maybe you want to go a different route. Maybe you want to stay in a hotel. Or if you like the more homey version, if you've never tried an Airbnb, I suggest doing that, because you're pretty much staying at someone's home that they're renting out to people for a night. I love Airbnbs. They're super homey. Planning on where I'm staying, that's pretty much what I look at. So after every single night that I've planned where I'm going to stay, I feel like that's pretty much like the basis of the trip. You plan where you're going to go, plan where you're going to sleep. That's pretty well everything. So I say the only other thing that I really plan deep into the trip is, also thinking about how far apart the places are. Like a lot of times, out west, places, two destinations can be like 15 hours apart. You have to factor that in. Do you have enough time to drive that far? So that's the main part of my trip planning that goes into it. The last part is just thinking about money and budget. That's obviously a big thing with me. I'm a college student. I don't have much extra money to spend. And so when I'm planning these trips, it's a big thing that I think about. So when it comes to money, I think about transportation. How am I getting to where I want to go? Am I flying? Am I driving my own car? Benefit of flying is, you don't have to spend as much time traveling. Say if I'm flying to California, well, that saves me 2 days of driving. But if I choose to drive there, but I'm using my own car, well, then I don't have to pay for a flight, and I also don't have to buy a rental car. If you're flying, you're more than likely going to have to buy a rental car, which you know, that's a lot of extra money that you're going to be spending, but sometimes that's pretty much the only option you have if you don't have enough time to drive or you don't want to drive to where you're going. Another thing that gets factored into the budget is gas. If you know you plan on staying in one place for 7 days, well, gas isn't going to be a big problem. But if you're going on a big road trip to all these different states, you're going to be spending a lot of money on gas, and it adds up quickly. And so you have to factor in all of, you know, about how many tanks of gas you're going to be spending, and extra money that's going to cost. The next thing I think about that is a big factor on the budget is food. I personally do not tend to eat out when I go on these trips, you know, maybe once or twice if there's like a cool place that we happen to go by. But other than that, I bring most of my food, and it's pretty cheap food that I get at Walmart. And that's just because I'm not going to spend a lot of money. And some people will argue that, saying that, you know, eating out at these places in different states and different areas is, you know, part of the experience, and that's awesome. I totally 100% agree. If I had the money, I would, but I don't. And so I choose the cheaper route right now, which is just bringing most of my food and eating that way, so I really don't have to spend money on much food at all. The next thing that factors in the budget is where am I sleeping. We've already talked about that. You know, camping could be $10, $20. If you have the money, a hotel, you know, $70, $100, $150, whatever. I choose camping because it is the cheaper route, and I also just kind of, you know, when I'm going on these trips, I like to be out there in nature and stay in nature. I feel like for me and my trips, it gives me kind of the full circle of what I'm trying to experience when I go out there. And so, you know, I like to sleep under the stars and hear, you know, the leaves rustling at night and little animals and whatnot. So that's what I'm into. And then last thing that you have to factor into your budget is activities. So, you know, hiking, you could hike for free all day. But if you want to do something a little different, you know, you might have to pay, you know, whether it's like a tour or, you know, some sort of activity that's company run that you have to pay for. I would look into that ahead of time so that you can factor that into your budget, because those can get pretty pricey. Now, I am going to give some tips on how to save money, because I do think about that a lot when I go on these trips. And so some of the ways that just through the trips that I've gone on that I've found how to save money are, one, I have several apps on my phone that I use. I have it in a travel folder. One of the apps that I use is Gas Buddy. It sounds ridiculous, but Gas Buddy can save you a lot of money. You could be driving past a gas station in one area that's 50 cents more than a gas station that is 50 miles down the road. And so that can save a lot of money. It's worth looking into. A second thing that I use, if I'm flying anywhere, I have an app called Sky Scanner. And what it does is it checks all of the airlines for the date and time of your flight that you would like to have. And so what it does is, you know, you may be flying one way with one airline and back on a different airline, but it's going to save you $100 than if you were flying one way and back on the same airline. And so it looks at every single airline that has flights to and from the destination you want at the times you want on those days, and it'll pull up the cheapest that it has. So it's a super cool app that a lot of people don't know about, I feel like, and it can save you a ton of money. Third thing, that I do to save money is bringing my food that I already talked about. Bringing your food versus eating out saves you tons of money, tons. And so if you're wanting to save money, I highly recommend buying your food or going to a Walmart whenever you get to where you're going. And last thing is that I kind of already talked about too is sleeping arrangements. Like I said, I tend to sleep in cheap places, meaning campsites or for free at like a rest stop that I talked about or something like that. But if you have the money and you want a little more luxury, you know, you can stay in a hotel. But what I do to save money is I sleep in either free or cheap places. So next, I'm going to go ahead and show you, I actually have everything laid out because today, in a couple hours, I'm leaving for a trip out west. And so I actually have everything set out that we're going to be taking on this trip. Everything but clothes and food, pretty much. Food, we're still running to the grocery store to get. And then clothes, we just kind of have packed away somewhere else. But I will show you everything that we bring. So it's not super organized or anything, but I'll take you through everything that I have. So first and foremost, we have our backpacks here, 2 backpacking backpacks. And we definitely need those for when we're going to be backpacking in the Grand Canyon. And then it's also just going to be helpful for when we're flying. That's going to be our checked bags, and so it's kind of nice that we can just put everything in there. And then next, So this is kind of just like my bathroom bag. I have everything in it bathroom-wise. Like I have ibuprofen, deodorant, air freshener because we're gonna stink, shampoo, deodorant. This I put in my hair. It's just baby powder, makes it not greasy anymore. Toothpaste, toothbrush, all that good stuff. And then this is my first aid kind of other bathroom type stuff bag. We're not really gonna have places to shower, and so these are just wet wipes to like wipe off with. And then a blister kit because we're definitely gonna be getting blisters. Bug spray, more first aid type stuff, extra bags in case we need them. And then this is a first aid kit. And this is gonna be like my daily hiking bag. It's just a nice little hiking backpack. And I have my water bladder in there. Just I have a book and a blanket, and then I have a raincoat. We're gonna be spending a day in Vegas, and so I'm bringing a purse. And then camping wise, we have 2 headlamps because we're gonna be hiking in the morning some days before the sun's up. We have a water filtration system. I have a hat, and that's the water bladder that Ty's gonna be using. Over here, these are those just like Walmart shopping bags. I'm just bringing them because in the car I like to have things kind of like in confined spaces, and so for that it's really nice. We can just kind of throw like the food or the clothes or whatever in there that we need. And then I have our propane tanks. We'll use those for cooking and whatnot. This is my little cooker that I have. The propane tank goes, you know, in between there, and then I can boil water or whatever I need on there. These are my pots and stuff that I cook my food in. I have a hammock. Don't really know if I'll use it or not, but I have it. These are sleeping pads. They're the blow-up kind. And so it's nice because they get down really small for packing and whatnot. So those are those. This is a washcloth and a hand towel. To save on space, I didn't pack an actual towel. I just got a hand towel. Not that we're really going to be showering anyways. But, so I have a couple flashlights here, a knife just in case. I have my Fitbit charger and my phone charger. This is for the car. An extra battery. I have silverware in here, earplugs in here. That's my torch for the top of the propane tank. So I'm bringing this hard container. I just have a bunch of like power bars and snacks and stuff in there. That'll be nice for when we're hiking if we want to put sandwiches inside. And then I always bring a folder. I put important papers in here and whatnot. Like we have like our permits and stuff for the different hikes that we're doing in here. So I like to have a folder to put those in. I have my camera. Over here we have our 2 sleeping bags. And then my shoes and my clothes are just in a pile up there. And then Ty has his clothes in his room. And then get it all packed up and ready to go. But yeah, I feel like I went over that super fast, but I mean, that's pretty much like how I plan my trips. I mean, it takes hours and hours of research, and it takes a lot of time, and just through experience you get better at it. But doing your research helps so much, and that's how I gained the information when I first started doing these trips. And packing and whatnot, I did that again through research for my first trip. Now I just kind of know what I need. But seriously, if you guys have any questions on like how I do these or what I pack or how I plan or anything, let me know because I love helping people plan these things. I love planning. I overplan if you can't tell. And so yeah, just let me know. Subscribe to my channel, comment, like it, whatever you want. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. See ya.